Welcome to Magic and the City, with me, author and podcaster Carrie Parker. This is the podcast where we talk about the magical every day, celebrating those moments when something truly magical has happened in our lives, and taking time to acknowledge that magic and magical things do exist, and that these wide-eyed moments of wonder are not something we left behind in our childhoods. They are present now in our adult lives, but maybe we don't see them for the magic they truly are. Every episode, I ask a very special guest to discuss 3 magic moments and how they shaped their lives to where they are now. So, please join us as I wave my magic wand and sprinkle some fairy dust on your day. Let's be magical together. Hello and welcome to this week's Magic and the City, and I'm delighted to be joined by Emma Howarth this week, who is a lifestyle journalist turned soul seeker. Hello and welcome, Emma.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So it's such a thrill for me that you're on my podcast. Your book, A Year of Mystical Thinking, pictured.
Ooh, look at all those Post-it notes.
Was one of the books that found me during lockdown, and I'd be really interested to hear. I know one of your magical moments is about how this book came into being, and I'd really love to hear the story behind this fantastic book.
So, yeah, well, obviously you'll know a lot of the story about the book, having read the book. But the book itself, it didn't really start out as a book. It started out as a personal project, basically. I had a really bad year in 2017, which feels like a long time ago now, and which people can read all about in the book. And while I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do to shape myself out of this? How am I going to make my life, feel good again? One of the things that kept kind of repeating around my mind like a mantra was something someone had said to me, and I can't remember who it was, but someone had said, when you lose your way in life, you should look back to what lit you up when you were younger. Mm-hmm. And that kind of kept repeating in my mind. And then there's a story about this in the book of where I'm kind of like amongst the junk in the basement and I find my old deck of tarot cards. And that's when I kind of remembered, like, I was basically a teenage witch. So that kind of set me off on this journey where I decided that, what I really wanted to do was disappear kind of Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love style to a magical desert island or something. But reality meant that I couldn't really do that because I had kids and a job. So I decided I was going to basically embark on a mystical journey, like a year of mystical adventures where I would explore or rediscover a different mystical or spiritual practice every month for a year. And that project was really just all about me trying to sort myself out, make myself feel better. I didn't, I am a writer, like I'm a journalist, but I didn't think about it as being a writing project. Like, I set up a little Instagram to kind of track the journey. Anyway, 2018 was the year that I sort of did this magical journey, and the good news was that it worked and it did make me feel a lot better, and I really felt like I'd found the magic in life again. And a few people did say to me who were following me on Instagram at that time, oh yeah, you should turn this into a book. So I think I was kind of half-heartedly, writing a few notes, thinking about what a proposal might look like, when the pandemic happened. And during the pandemic, I used to run basically like these sort of local full and new moon circles. That's something that kind of come out of my mystical year, this desire to share some of the magic with other people. And one of the women who came to those circles had a brother who was a literary agent, and he was looking for someone to write an astrology book. And I was writing the horoscopes for Glamour magazine at the time, so she suggested me. And I feel like the magic of this situation, this was all right at the start of the pandemic, was kind of like, it was a little bit of an intervention from the universe, maybe. Ordinarily, I probably would have been so busy doing all the live stuff and all the work stuff that I might have been like, yeah, I'll get onto that later. But I think because I had a bit of extra time on my hands, I mean, not that much time, I was homeschooling two children. I replied, and I replied straight away, and I said, yeah, I can totally write you an astrology book. Like, I'm the astrologer for Glamour. I've written lots of books before for, I used to work at Time Out, so I'd done lots of guidebooks. And but something made me kind of go, but I have got this other idea for a book. And I sent him a few sentences, and he was like, sounds amazing, send me what you've got. So I kind of quickly whipped my first few chapters into shape, sent them to him, and he just phoned me back instantly, was like, I love it, it's brilliant, I'm sure I can sell this to a publisher. And that all just happened really quickly within about 3 months. So yeah, that is kind of one of my magical moments, was like, I don't know whether I would have done that, written this book without, a pandemic, which is a bit weird, or B, the mystical journey that I've been on, introducing me to the person with the brother who was the literary agent. I know it all just felt like magic, like it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
Which is probably very annoying for anyone listening to this, thinking, well, I want to write a book, because, maybe the magic won't just happen. But yeah, I do sort of believe if you're meant to do something,
Yeah.
and you start the process, the universe will deliver you what you need to make it happen if you're meant to do it.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I believe in the energy of intention. And if you put the energy out there of something positive and something that is going to bring joy, then that will come
Yeah.
back to you. So this book, like I say, it came out. So it was 2021. It came
Yeah,
out.
September 2021. It's a Virgo.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And at the time of the pandemic, it was a real lifeline. It felt to me, going through the pandemic and also being in a similar situation to you, two small children, homeschooling, and also some teenage witchy stuff, in my past. There was something about this book, and also Emma Lucy Knowles, who came into my life pretty much about.
Love Emma Lucy Knowles. She's fabulous.
Yeah, and so it was her book and your book, and I mean, you can see the post-it notes. I went through this book, and I did pretty much most of it. I did the vision boards and the sound baths, and I just threw myself into it because it spoke to me. And what it did was it made it so accessible, and it made magic. It didn't make magic feel, I don't know, like off-putting, or something dusty and you know smelly shop kind of thing. It made it feel relevant and now, and something that I wanted to engage in. So, there were so many parts of the book that were just like, I was like, oh, I really want to know about this. And then you've got your list of who you go to then to find out more. And so it was like a real Bible to me of, this is a way in, this is how I get started, which is, which reading this, obviously you have a real journey. But then after this, what happens next? I mean, is there a part two? Is there more development? Where are you?
I mean, of course, there always is. I mean, yeah, it's an ongoing journey, I think, and I'm constantly like finding new things, and like, trying new practices and finding new ways to make life feel magical. Um, in terms of, is there a part two book? I am trying. I'm trying to finish a proposal for one, which, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I just hope someone wants it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'd love to read it. Um, so one another interesting thing about this book is that you pulled a card when you found that tarot deck again. You pulled a card from it, and you got the Wheel of Fortune, which to me always means like you're hurtling down a hill, and there's all this momentum, and there's nothing you can do about which direction you're going to go. But you're going in the right direction, but how you get there exactly is anyone's guess. And so I'm interested in, like, where is it you want to get to? What is the goal for you in the journey?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I've definitely got this vision that I can't let go of. But it is basically, I don't know, I'm also a Pisces and I'm like a massive fantasist, I think. Like, I'm just like such a dreamer. But I have this vision where I am in the future. I am on that desert island type of thing. I mean, I don't think it's a desert island. It probably is like just a nice beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess I sort of I have this vision of myself living this very like simple but beautiful, lovely life on a
Yeah.
beach, eating vegan, freshly prepared vegan food. I think in my vision I don't have to cook it myself, which is quite
Yeah.
key.
I'm
Um,
hearing it's
yeah,
super
so
true.
basically I've got a vision of myself being on an amazing holiday.
Yeah.
Um, but really, I don't know, it's just to me the sort of the real life magic thing is the thing that really matters, and that's the thing that I really learned on that journey. It's not that I'm particularly aiming at any one thing. It's more about seeing the magic in the everyday, in the here and now, and just noticing that it's everywhere. So almost no matter what I'm doing, I don't need to be on that, magical desert island with someone delivering me a vegan smoothie bowl. I can find the magic in a cup of Yorkshire gold tea downstairs in my own kitchen or whatever
Yeah.
I need. And I think that's the thing that people relate to about my book is that it is very, start where you are, use what you have, build upon the things that are working for you already. Like, it's not a big kind of you've got to tear everything all up and start again, or you have to do it my way, or you must do a ritual in this exact order on the full moon. It's very much like find your own way, find your own magic, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I think that's why I get so many messages from people going, this book was really life changing for me, which I love. It's just the best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, making magical accessible, making it not difficult. You've got
Mm,
the stuff you need in your house already. You don't
yeah.
need
I
to
mean,
buy
who
stuff.
needs to make it difficult and complicated? It's like life is already difficult and complicated.
Yeah.
Let's make magic fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And that's what this podcast is all about, making people feel like, that magic that we felt when we were kids. And the possibilities were endless because we didn't have any limitations. And it's like if you were told that there was a magician that was floating around in the sky and or Mary Poppins, whatever, you'd look out and you'd think, oh yeah, I think I can see them because you didn't have any doubt about that being true.
Yeah.
Um, in your book, you write about, as well as the magic moments that we're going to talk about, you write about a couple of things that happened to you that really were also remarkable moments. It's like when you were 14 and you had rather a bad encounter that was disturbed. And then when you were on a cliff top in Devon, and again, you had a moment of intuition. And then in Australia, again, your life was saved by waking up at the exact right moment and waking up the driver who had fallen asleep, going onto a, a train that was hurtling towards you. Um, so yeah, you've had a lot of magic. Um,
Yeah, I think my mum was really horrified when she read all those bits. She was like, "What?
yes,
You
yes,
did what?"
yeah,
Yeah, I think everyone's got those moments if they think about them. I mean, I don't think about those day to day. But I was a teenager. I was in my 20s. Like, to
mm,
me, it was just like, "Oh, we nearly all died," and then
yeah,
we just carried on.
yes,
We
yes,
didn't though. We didn't die. That's the thing. You didn't. Um, but yeah, I think everyone's got those moments if they think about it. Those kind of, sliding doors or near misses or just something made you not get in the car or something made you, you know, choose a different day, choose a different direction. I feel like we've all got that if we look back on it. And that's part of it as well. That's part of seeing the magic. Like, you could think that was nothing. You could just think it was a coincidence, or you could be like, maybe something somewhere is looking out for me a little bit. Like, or even if that is just my own intuition, my own, ability to sense danger while hurtling down a cliff at high speed.
yeah, yeah. Um, So I want to move on to your second magic moment now, which the setting of which was Skiathos. Tell us about this magic moment.
Oh, yes, lovely Skiathos, which does also feature in my book. The August chapter is in Skiathos. So I first went to Skiathos in the late 90s and like island hopping with some friends from school. And one thing that happened while we were there, which I'd never experienced before, I mean, I have experienced it since, was, we were all out late one night and someone said, oh, there's phosphorescence at a certain beach. I can't remember which beach it was. And so we all kind of like piled down to this beach and went swimming, I think it must have been moonlit because otherwise there wouldn't have been anything to catch the light, but kind of like a moonlit swim with, this, if you've ever experienced phosphorescence, it literally is like nature's magic. Like, and I'd never experienced this. I don't think I even knew what it was. So I was literally like, what is this? This is amazing. Like every time you take a stroke in the water, you just see like sparkles of light, which is this, algae that lights up. And I just think that was just a moment of such pure, unadulterated magic that is, it's awe-inducing. It's like the magic of the natural world. Like, the same feeling you might get if you're stood at the top of a mountain looking at the view, or you see the most amazing rainbow, or even simple things like the sparkles on the sea or the autumn colors, that kind of feeling. Like that, I think is, that phosphorescence was an extreme type of magic.
Yeah.
Although I would definitely encourage anyone who can find some to go and swim in it.
Wow.
But yeah, I think this idea of magic as awe, magic as the natural world being full of magic is something that we can all embrace no matter where we live, even if you don't live by the sea or on a beautiful Greek island or in the countryside. I think you can hopefully get outside and find some magic wherever you are, even if you're in a city. And the other magical thing about Skiathos is it did end up becoming a place that I go to every year. So, I didn't know then, but I had, at that point, I was swimming with and had met the person that I was going to marry and have children with. I didn't know, but I had.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's magic.
Yeah, it is kind of magic. And so, yeah, we do kind of, go back there every year, and it's, it's a really beautiful island. My husband's family's Greek, so my children are part Greek and really embrace the culture. They call it home. They say we're going home when they go to Skiathos. So
Oh,
yeah, there's a
wow.
real magic in that too, definitely.
Yeah.
We're very lucky, though. I do appreciate that. Like, not everyone gets to go and spend the summer on a Greek island.
No.
I'm also lucky I have a job that I can do on a Greek island. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, that must be nice. I want to go now to talk about your latest book, which is Astrology Almanac for this year. So you are the columnist for Glamour UK. And how long have you been doing that job for?
I was trying to remember that the other day. I think since 2019, I think the end of 2019, I started writing them as weeklies.
Hmm.
And then we changed it maybe around 2020, we changed it to monthly. And I write the horoscopes now for Marie Claire Korea as well.
Oh,
They get
wow.
translated into Korean. I don't write them in Korean.
Wow. So at the time when you had the meeting with your agent about a year of mystical thinking, were you were doing the astrology at the time then? You were writing the column then, or
Yes, I was writing the column then. And that's why I said, yeah, I can write an astrology book. So, yeah, I suppose the other quite interesting magical thing is that the astrology almanac did happen. And I didn't even come up with that idea. I mean, I came up with the concept, but the initial idea, there should be an astrology almanac, came from the publisher, and they approached me. It wasn't me approaching them. So maybe I was always destined to do that astrology book as well, which is quite interesting.
yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was thinking when you were talking
Yeah.
about it. And it's such a useful book to, to dip into and to see, what's happening next kind of thing. And of course, we've just been through the whole eclipse season, which was, I think, the Instagram and the internet went a bit crazy about it, maybe a bit too much. Um,
Yeah, I mean, everyone's into astrology now, so I mean, which I love, but
mm,
yeah, it can all just be a little bit like, come on, it's not that bad.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a bit like the Mercury retrograde thing. I mean, I'm just like not bothered by Mercury retrograde at all. It's like it's
Yeah,
like a kind of, I sort of vaguely pay attention. I enjoy Mercury retrograde because I think it's like a reassess, redo, sit back, slow down, like revisit an old project, which is something I think I've always got on my to-do list.
hmm
And I don't really worry too much about all that, like, panic, everything's going to go wrong. I just sort of slightly prepare for it, like make sure you've got a good book in your bag in case there's a delay. And, if maybe I could avoid signing, a new contract during Mercury retrograde, I might, but I wouldn't say no to one because, it was offered during a retrograde. I would sign it anyway, for sure.
yeah. And the fact is that, these things happen. The eclipse season happens twice a year, I think I'm right in saying.
There are usually four eclipses. So there's lunar eclipses and solar eclipses, and there's about three Mercury retrogrades a year. Every planet pretty much goes into retrograde at some point, not necessarily every year. It's just like, I think I find astrology to be a really useful tool, a really useful guidance tool. It's magical, it's fun, it's all those things that I love.
Hmm.
Uh, and I do live my life by it a little bit, but not to a really extreme level.
Yeah. And do you do all the charting and all of that?
Yeah. So to write the horoscopes, I'll just like draw up a little chart for the month for each sign. And also I always think about someone I know who is that rising sign or who is that sun sign when I do them, because I don't know, and sometimes I reveal that I think about that person. They're like, what are you trying to tell me?
I mean, I have to say, in the book, the first book, it was the first time I was aware of rising signs, moon signs, and I was like, oh, what am I? Like quickly looking it up. Had no idea. I thought it was all about the sun sign, and that was it. So finding out about the rising and the moon sign and the big three concepts was massive.
And did it make sense to you when you found out what you were?
Yeah, it did. It did. And then it made me, your book made me want to learn more about it. So I wanted to know about, well, what do the nodes mean, and what is where my Venus and my Mars mean,
Mm.
and where my Saturn is, what does that mean? And it's like, because it suddenly your mind is like, oh, it's not just about that one thing. It's about everything.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating to me. Because I'm a Taurus. My birthday's on Sunday, and as a Taurus, you kind of feel like, well, you're stable and you're all these kind of things. And then I found out I had a Leo moon, and suddenly I was like, yes, this is exciting. Something that feels right for me.
Mm.
Having a Leo moon and sparkly silver boots and lots of
And
sea
what was your rising sign?
Sag.
Oh, yeah. So you've got
Yeah.
a lot of fire.
Got a fire. Yeah, I've got a fire trine.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what I mean by kind of, sort of magical guidance. It's sort you can use that to understand yourself better, but then you can also, with a few key details, use it to understand other people better too.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's a magical way of understanding people better, which I think it can be very useful.
Yeah. And you write in the book about how there were some doubters when you first started talking about astrology. There are
Yeah.
people that that weren't kind of like, yeah, but how do your family feel about what you do?
I mean, my kids are into it. They're kids. They love all of this stuff. Um, and I think, my husband's a real scientist. He's a doctor, but I think he's sort of more interested than he sometimes maybe shows. I know, I just think, I feel like anybody, like people, this doesn't sound a bit awful, but people do love stuff that's about them.
People
Like
love to talk about them.
everyone's obsessed with themselves. So if you're kind of like, oh, well, let me tell you what your rising sign is and what it means, people will listen and they will. And if you're telling them something that they want to hear, they might be like, actually, that is me. And then maybe you can hit a little nerve by saying, but the kind of the darker side of that might mean this, and it might help them to kind of accept that part of themselves or learn to work with it or understand it. Just think, even on a very basic level, it's all just about kind of connection and communication, and these are just ways of connecting with people and understanding the world. They're just different ways.
Mm.
So what works for one person might not work for someone else, but I have yet to find someone who, if you sit there going, go on, I'll tell you, I'll draw up your chart, doesn't go, okay, me next.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting how many people in the public eye use astrology. Like I'm certain Elon Musk uses astrology because when he launches things, there's always a significance of that date.
Oh, I bet he does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it's more widely used than people, and I think it has been for, for thousands of years. People have used it to, help them launch a product at the right time or make a decision
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Having a sort of fair wind behind you gives you the best possible luck.
Yeah. Or even if it's just giving you the belief that it's going to work out. Like sometimes when my friends and I are like putting forward a few dates for meeting up, I'll like look up, what sign the moon's in each day. And I'll be like, the moon, the vibe's going to be better on Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's do lunch instead of going out.
Did
But
you
yeah.
choose your wedding day, for example, based on astrological?
Well, I got married on the summer solstice, so yeah, I did. But also, it was because it was a Saturday, and it was in Greece, in Skiathos, and the Greek family from Athens wanted it to be a Saturday so they could come. So it was kind of like I looked for the most magical date I could that was on a Saturday in June.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful. The longest day as well.
yeah.
Yeah. And have you, well, I'm sure you have your cartography, can't say it properly. Do you have any lines going through Greece?
I don't think I do. I'm still kind of like trying to get into astrocartography. Like I kind of feel like I don't fully get it all yet. Like I keep looking at it and going, I've just got lines in really weird places. But I think maybe I just need to like study it a bit more. I feel like maybe I've got more to learn. But no, there's nothing like that would obviously link me to Greece.
Yeah. No,
Not from what I remember last time I looked. I might look it up again after this.
yeah. Yeah, because I've done it, and like you, I'm like, oh, lots of lines. What does it all mean? And I've got like
Yeah.
things coming into Miami, and my boyfriend is American, and
Oh,
his
okay.
family, quite a lot of them live in Miami, so that makes sense, and I love Miami.
Oh, that does.
Um,
No, I didn't see anything that instantly made sense to me on mine. So I
I'll
think
have
maybe I do need to look at it again.
to revisit.
Yeah, I just looked at it and went, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to go to your third and final magic moment, which is the birth of your children and what
Oh,
that
yeah.
meant to you.
Well, it's a bit of an obvious one, I suppose, isn't it? The magic of bringing a new life into the world. I mean, anyone who's done it knows it's amazing. What I just always think about is, motherhood is amazing. Like I think, it's the best thing I've ever done. But quite often the job of motherhood is the most tedious thing I've ever done. Like, the repetitive caring and dishwasher loading and laundry, which again is something I talk a lot about in the first book. But what I always come back to when I think about sort of the day my children were born was that moment when they kind of like wheel you through with your baby and you feel like the queen of the universe. And I've always just thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you could like bottle that feeling and like sell it? But what I think that is I think the kind of magic it is, which is how, because I don't like to ever say something is magic and then not find a way to relate it to other people. Like, you might not have had a baby, you might be a man, but it's about portals. So it's about kind of, birth and motherhood is going through a portal. You start off on one side and you emerge through the portal with this baby, and a mother is born and a baby is born. But there are lots of portals we go through in life, like any sort of big change in your life, like a sort of an awakening, a spiritual awakening can be a portal. Getting older, like, maybe menopause could be a portal. A lot of people say that who've, reached that stage, like it's like this second spring. I just feel like the portals of life, like the things where things really change, like going from being a teenager to an adult, like all of these things, even like every big birthday, your 40th, your 30th, like all of these things, they're portals of change. And I think portals are magical. And I kind of encourage people to think about those kind of magical portals that they've been through in life and what they meant to them and what they taught them. And I'm really, like we were saying before we even started recording this, like I'm really into the idea of like the moments that made you, and what made you who you are today, and what are you taking forwards with you. Look, it can be a bit unhelpful to look back too much, but sometimes if you look back and see what you've achieved. I mean, one of my favorite quotes, not my own quote, someone else's quote, is like, remember when all you wanted was exactly what you have now. And I think there's so much beauty in that. So yeah, even if you kind of haven't felt that bottle it feeling of being wheeled back into the ward in the hospital with your newborn baby, I think you probably can remember the feeling of coming out the other side, even if it's like coming out of a depression back into the light, whatever it is. So these moments that make us are magic.
I mean, it's interesting that all of the examples that you gave, I would say they would all start with fear. They would all come from, you would go into them feeling some degree of fear, and then you go through the portal and it wasn't as bad, or or it's just behind you, but it had to be done. It had to be something.
Mm.
You had to, you have to go through menopause. You have to eventually give birth to the baby that you're carrying, even though it's scary to think that somehow it's got to come out, but it does.
I've got a friend who's doing it at the moment. I don't think she's got to the stage where she's thinking about how it has to come out.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I'd also say, like, there's a point in our lives when we get older, when maybe we can't be self-sufficient anymore, and maybe we need to be, looked after, residential care, or going to live with family, or whatever it is. But at that point, there is a massive change that happens in, that is a big portal of life, because you're looking directly at, you know the next part of your life, which is the last part of your life. And again, I feel like there is a fear that goes with all of these
Mm.
changes that we go through in our lives. So that last one, I mean, I love that. I love the idea of it being a portal and giving birth, and it's a real
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Um, I wanted to also talk about just a couple of more things from your book. One of my favorite laugh out loud bits from it was when you did the sound baths, and you're in this very posh hotel somewhere in London, and in the same room is Howard from Take That, and that and for me that was just brilliant. There you are walking out feeling all blissed out, and there's Howard, and yeah, I've never looked at him the same way again after that.
He
But
was wearing an entirely white outfit as well.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and it is just the most magical read. So if you haven't read this and you want a kind of how-to guide, how to get into, spirituality or just finding some magic in everyday life, this is such a great book. It's accessible, it's humorous, it's just it's a beautiful book, and I would recommend it as a way in. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to talk about, Emma, or you want to talk about your three wishes. Like if you had three magical wishes, what would they be?
Oh God, I think I'd need more time to think about them. I love that during this conversation you've reminded me of loads of bits in my book. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Forgot about Howard. Yeah, three wishes. I guess it'd be pretty hard to wish for anything other than like world peace at the moment, really, wouldn't it? Like, I don't think I could be very selfish about my wishes. Yeah, world peace, safety, and happiness and love for everybody.
Yeah.
Let me think if I was going to ask for something selfish. I don't know. I'd really like my cat to stop scratching the furniture.
Yeah. I'd like my cat to stop weeing everywhere, but
Oh God, that's even worse. At least I don't have that.
Well, thank you so much, Emma. It's been wonderful to talk to you. And like I said, please do find Emma's book, A Year of Mystical Thinking, and also the Astrology Almanac, which is all about this year. And you can find Emma on socials as well. Your Emma Howarth Writes, is that your
Yeah.
Instagram?
At Emma Howarth Writes and emmahowarth.com.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm also on TikTok, but I'm really rubbish on there.
Yeah.
And there's a fake me that has more followers. So don't fall for that one. I'm the one with no followers.
Yeah, I just started TikTok as well, and it's not easy. But anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast and talking about everyday magic.
Yeah,
And
thank you for having me.
yeah, I can't wait to see what you do next. And
I've got to finish that proposal. Otherwise,
too.
No, I need to finish it. It's on the to-do list today.
Yeah. And also maybe some retreats in Greece. You could run some.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things like that I can, do in the future. So yeah, I'm just like, I've got one more like book that I want to do. Then I'm thinking maybe I'll do fiction and run beautiful retreats.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. Okay, well, thank you again, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do like, share, and get involved in the comments. See you for more magic next week. Bye.